Schalke. Oh, they've done it! Steven Terodde, an instant hero! Can you believe this? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Blau und Weiß sein Leben lang. Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Schalke America. Welcome to episode 200. 7 long years. We are a very professional podcast with two clowns as the host. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always, my co-host, the voice, Jack Mangan. How we doing, Jack?
Celebratory firework background apparently as well for the 200th episode. So
That's right.
it feels like the count should be more than that given how long we've been doing this. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I trust your accounting. But anyway, no, this is it's a joyous occasion. It's a pleasure to have been doing this with you for as long as we have. Although I haven't been on recently as much, given the lack of ability, some of these games, some of my illnesses, and then some travel stuff. But nice to be back with you this evening. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's been a crazy season. It's okay. You haven't been here lately? Shaka hasn't showed up lately, so it kind of works out, right? But no, I've been pretty good, man. And 7 years. We're in our 7th season, 200 episodes, or plus minus 30. Who knows? It's been fun. It's been a wild ride. Lots of ups, lots of downs. I was actually gonna look up the statistic before this, but I never got around to it. Seeing how many wins, losses, and draws we've been a part of. But maybe it's for another podcast another time, right? Let's get promoted first. But we thought as a way to celebrate, we get tired of hearing each other's voices. We thought let's bring in someone else to liven up the mood here. Reach out to our Discord, to our great fans, great support, and gonna have a guy who I've been talking to a long time. We call him Eric Z German. But Eric, welcome to the podcast. How are we doing, my friend?
Doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. This is gonna be good fun.
Happy Victory Monday. Wafflo knows. He knows it's a Victory Monday. What better way to celebrate episode 200 than the Victory Monday on a Monday, Jack? We're actually on a Monday.
Not a Victory Monday on a Wednesday or whatever else we do. Yeah, actually timely for once, which is good to see.
Yeah. And it's nice to get a victory. Boys, we won 4-3 this weekend. Eric, we were talking about before the podcast. Crazy result. I mean, look at here the score. 4-3. Kanaka had 2 goals early in the first half hour. Poulter pulled one back before halftime. Mueller got an injury coming out the half. Merkin had a nice goal. Derry Merkin. They made it 3-2. A couple minutes later after that, Oyan, beautiful free kick to make it 3-3, and then Poulter get the game winner in the 79th on a penalty. Crazy game. I mean, anybody watching this game, it just ups and down. I mean, to go down, Eric, against Magdeburg. I mean, I saw how the Discord chat was going during the game. Not the ideal way to start a game against a team who isn't the top 5 or whatever in the league, and one of the few undefeated teams at that point. What was going through your head at when you see the team go down 2-0 that early?
It partially wasn't unexpected. I mean, we did see Magdeburg, the week before, and Hertha kind of duke it out. It was, first, it was a tennis score, basically 6-4, right? I mean, it was not a lot of defending there. So you did know that they have some goals in, and with our defensive frailties, particularly in transition. It's been our struggle for the last good 4 or 5 weeks now, probably since Braunschweig 2.
Yeah.
You just weren't completely surprised that you can put yourself in that position. The goals were really unfortunate how they came. I mean, Moon makes a really good save on the second goal. I mean, really great save. Like, okay, good. Now just somebody clear. Oh no, there he is from 17 yards out, and then perfectly placed shot in the corner, right? So 2-0 down at home on a Friday, or on a Saturday night, like prime time. You're like, this isn't great. This is not great.
No, not at all. And Jack, we joked about after that 6-4 scoreline last week that, hey, we'll probably see another 9 goals in this game. Jokingly, we probably said, right, Magdeburg probably get the majority of that. And you're going to go up, they're going up 2-0. We're like, oh, God, here we go. But 7 goals in this game. We ended up winning this game. Defense obviously was optional for both teams. It seems like Eric said, it was kind of to be expected that we were going to give up goals. And obviously Magdeburg's given up a lot of goals this year. But I don't think you and I would have predicted a 4-3 scoreline in out of this game. I mean, what were your thoughts when you saw this final scoreline here?
Well, to Eric's point, talk about transition being an area of weakness for us. And yeah, it seems like whenever people get ahead of steam against us, the lack of athleticism from our center backs at the moment in terms of who we have is kind of a problem. We're probably a little bit better when we can actually set up shop in front of somebody and defend it that way. But Baumgartel and Kaminsky at times were getting caught out. I think 2 of the 3 goals were probably in that kind of a situation. It was really the second one. But I think the thing that struck me too was the ease with which the first 2 goals were taken by Magdeburg. Very, very similar, just picks out a spot, gently strokes in the corner. These are not frantic moments. They have the time, the space, to kind of stroke these things home. And it's not great. How many times also have we seen this is going back to last year as well, I think at times under Rice, but the amount of space people have around the edge of the box to get on a ball and take a shot, we just do not close people down, and there's way too many free shots taken. And so, I don't know, on the second goal, there's still a lot to be done. It's from outside the box. You have to shoot through some traffic, but if you give somebody that kind of space to measure it up and place it where they want to, they can hurt you. So, yeah, it seemed from the limited highlights I was able to watch, it did not seem like a great start, especially after the international break too, when there's there's all this turmoil going on beforehand. A couple weeks away, kind of calm things down, maybe reset the narrative a little bit and kind of come out with a show of force. And I think that must have been pretty difficult in the Veltman's arena early into that match. When we went down 2-0, so it's kind of right back into the fire where we were before the international break started.
And it doesn't help. I mean, when one of the best goalkeepers in the Zweite Liga, Marius Müller, goes down with an injury, and Langer comes in, and we love Langer, but he is what he is. He's just a backup goalkeeper. He'll provide some brilliance occasionally, but he'll show that he is a backup goalkeeper, and he's coming in there. And we're already down 2-1 at this point. Schalke find a way to come back in this game. Eric, what were the highlights in terms of the players for you in this game? Because obviously Poulter's going to get the highlight for 2 goals, but the youngster Ouedraogo had a really, really good game, and some other players stood out. What was your highlight?
One of the first thing I saw at the beginning of when I saw the lineups, that he was kind of either 9.5 or 10, almost like a little bit of a free roll. I was like, okay, just let him play, give him the ball, let him do something, drive strong with the ball. He did that a few times. It's nice to see. It's nice to see that they trust him. He's going to get fouled a lot though, which at his young age may not be ideal for his career. Right? 17 years old. I wouldn't say Michael Owen, but that's kind of where it started, right?
Yeah.
I did like Merkin. I haven't seen much of him, so this was kind of the first game I've actually seen a good bit of him. Obviously scored a very nice goal coming off the left. Beautiful shot, good positioning. Can't complain there. Obviously, collectively, I think they pressed pretty well. Was the first goal that they actually got was from their pressing. I think they still struggled. Probably the first 35 minutes were still dire. There was no concept. There was the best that they could kind of come up with was just hit a long ball and hope that Poulter wins a header, have somebody knock it down. No combination play, just Hauruck, just hit it long and hope for the best, right? So
yeah,
I think those two I did enjoy seeing for the first time, in some nice spots on the field.
Jack, anyone else stood out for you? You and I were talking, and I thought Ouedraogo certainly playing above his age for sure, and his experience, and really doing a really great job. But it's nice to see. Is it safe to say that we're getting a Thomas Oyon from 2 years ago and not from last year, or is it a little too early to say that yet?
So, real quick question for both of you, because once again, I was only able to see kind of limited highlights from this game, and so from that, in terms of a shape, it wasn't as particularly clear how we were lining up. Was this more of a 4-3-1-2 with Ouedraogo kind of behind almost like a partnership of what Merkin and Poulter, or was this more kind of like a 4-3-3 with Merkin kind of playing wide, combination of both? I don't know. A
little bit more 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
I think Poulter was probably a little. That's I think one of his things. He was very isolated for a lot of the game, so not a lot of playing off of him. So they just tried long balls, but was it Seglin and who was the other?
Templeman and more.
Templeman played a double pivot, and again in the first half it did not work.
Yeah, Moore also defensively didn't really help out right to that first goal that kind of gave away the ball for Ganaka, and he could score that goal. But I like the adjustment.
Was that a missed hit, or did he just not see where the defender was at all and thought he was playing it like to his? I mean, because that was.
I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he didn't realize that the player was on him. The guy got him real quick, really well done by Ganaka, and then puts it, slots it home, places his shot. I think
Tobias Moore, by the way, likewise did not make any effort to close down on the second goal. I think Templeman was maybe a little bit deep in the box and could have stepped out as well, but Tobias Moore was just standing there watching the play happen once again. So I mean, arguably, at least to some extent, to blame for two of the first goals for them, and that's unfortunate because I know he was talking a lot, beforehand about like trying to make the most of his opportunities, gets the starting, thing here, and then causes some issues for us.
Yeah, and I think Rice learned his lesson from the last time Merkin played, and Merkin played as a left back in the last game. Yeah, he looked great going up forward with the ball, but defensively he was horrid and really was a reason kind of like we lost that last game we played. So nice to see Oweyan back in his left back position and Merkin pushed a bit more. The nice goal, well taken to Eric's point, I thought. And even in the game, I thought in transition, both Seguin and Templeman had some nice assists in this game, kind of feeding the attack there. But it's overall, you thought it would have been easy, right? They end up getting a red card before that penalty. Haber get a second yellow, gets a red card, and you think, oh, we're just going to see it on out. But we needed a longer goal line save in the dying minutes of stoppage time to get this victory. But a win is a win. We ended their undefeated streak where I think we're back up to like 12th position or something on the table. Can't take a break now because we got St. Pauli coming up this weekend. St. Pauli is obviously going to be in the running for promotion this year. Not certainly easy, but I guess with the news of Marius Muller being out now and Fairman's not quite ready to start yet. Well, at least as of today, right? He could still get healthy by the end of the week, but looks like it's probably gonna be longer going into the weekend. Eric, how do you feel going into the St. Pauli matchup? Obviously, some of our players are starting to come around. Maybe Poulter gets into the start here and I don't know if Toronto's going to be quite healthy just yet. 2 goals obviously look good, but there are some weaknesses. Obviously, the defense is a weakness, and now we got our backup goalkeeper starting this one, but potentially, how do you feel? What's your confidence level going into this game?
Mixed. I mean, you can still sense it's not going to be as open. Obviously, St. Pauli is not going to be as wide open as Magdeburg is. So I mean, I'm kind of curious to see if and when Cisse comes back. I think Kaminsky did an okay job. I think I don't know the Thomas Callas, the other defender that we just got. We haven't seen him yet. I don't know if they're going to bet him in anytime soon, but I still don't defensively see a solid concept yet as to how they are defending with the ball or without. Unfortunately, I mean, honestly, to say that, I mean, usually you can identify this is how they're defending as a unit, and you don't see it. You don't see one person saying, okay, pressure on the ball versus stay with the man. You don't see it. So I don't think it'll be as frantic. So I think you have the opportunity there to be a little bit more solid. Maybe if you play the 6-6, defend as a 6-pack. But they need to work on their transitioning defensively because otherwise even St. Pauli will rip them apart.
I mean, we want to take the glass half full, right, Jack, and say, hey, the transition game in the midfield to the attacking. We scored 4 goals in this game. It was a better game, but again, Magdeburg's been giving up a lot of goals this year, so maybe we can't rely on that, right?
It's like almost the biggest transition between opponents you can think of. They're in a very similar position in the table in terms of like how they're performing overall, but they're doing it in opposite ways. Magdeburg is scoring a lot of goals, conceding a lot of goals, and St. Pauli just has this way so far this season of grinding everything to a halt and making it is not particularly exciting in terms of ultimately what's getting up there on the score sheet. So
3 goals allowed this year for St. Pauli.
Yeah, and only 8 scored. Hopefully that means they'll give our defense a little bit of a break. I think it, given how solid they've been, it's probably going to be necessary that like somebody like Ouedraogo has a big game in terms of being able to beat people on the dribble potentially and pull people out of their shape. Because I don't know if we're going to be able to, pass around them in general, obviously outside of transition moments like we were just talking about. So, I don't know. I'd like to see a lineup with some people that can make something happen on the dribble. I mean, hopefully the the Merkin thing, if he continues to be in the lineup, is going to be positive for us to get some offensive reinforcements as well.
Yeah, and Eric, I'd like to get your thoughts on this because Jack and I have talked about, our feeling on Cisse. I think, Cisse got thrown into the fire. Start against Hamburg is never an easy feat, especially for a rookie. And yeah, you want to compare Cisse being a rookie with Ouedraogo, but it's different for an offensive player versus a defensive player, especially with a guy like Glatzel, who's one of the best scorers in the Zweite Liga. What are your thoughts on Cisse? Do you think he deserves another shot? Do you think he should be let to waste? How do you feel about the youngster?
I mean, I think it's kind of a weird one, right? Because I mean, Rice did have the confidence in to start him from the beginning, right? So I mean, he sees what's happening in the field. He sees what happened in preseason. I mean, I know some of the other players weren't there yet. Rice did make a mistake though when he got that first yellow card and said, "Okay, this isn't on today." He should have pulled him at that point. Not, I know he was trying to save him from his confidence or whatever. From hey, you're getting the hook here, but is it worse that then you get a red card, you lose the game, and your suspension?
Yeah.
So I mean,
and your confidence,
right? I mean, in terms of confidence, you give up another goal, but you play. I don't know. So I like him. I think generally speaking, I mean, he's physical. I think when he's on the ball himself, I think he makes good, solid decisions. In the times I've seen him, I think the game that I saw him watch the whole thing was the game against Copenhagen. I thought he made some good decisions. Yeah. I think he looked like the leader of the back line, but that Hamburg game was not his.
I would agree with those sentiments. I think Jack and I both felt that way, and we've seen, at least for the last several games, it's been Kaminski and Baumgartel, and this is at least my opinion. Jack, I'm curious on your thoughts. I've liked Kaminski. I've liked him since he's been on the team, and what he did 2 years ago, he was pivotal in terms of what he brought to the back three that we had, and he has his uses. But I think both he and Baumgartel, Baumgartel is not doing it for me. I mean, maybe it's just recent memory, right? But it seems like he's always left out of position now that every game that he started. He and Kaminski together just seem not to gel at all, and not that I'm going to say I want Cisse back just yet. Eventually, I do want to see him play, but maybe see what this Kalash guy has, right? Maybe it's Kalash and Cisse. I don't know, but I don't know if I'm ready for that at St. Pauli just yet, because St. Pauli, like Hamburg, are teams who can punish you, Jack. So what are your thoughts on the defense? Or you want to stick with them? How do you feel about those back two?
I mean, it's always difficult because, once again, it's a thing, we're not in training to see how these things are going, because there could be reasons people aren't getting opportunities. But in general, I mean, going back to the conversations we've had a lot this season, we talked about, our return to the second division, and I talked about how I think the squad is weaker. Yeah, there's some elements of that, like Salazar, Sarcho, and all of those kinds of people, but a lot of the focus, a lot of the highlight was on the fact that we had a partnership of Chow and Itakura, which is just significantly stronger than what we have going on at the moment. I don't remember if anyone was injured early in the season, which is why Cisse got that start. But assuming that wasn't the case, to the point that both of you just kind of made there, clearly there was a reason why he had been handed that in the first place. It wasn't like, hey, first game of the season, let's just give it to a youngster for the hell of giving it to a youngster. I don't think a coach would do that. I mean, I think there was obviously a reason why the guy was in the starting lineup. Didn't go well, but I don't think that's a reason to necessarily never go back to this guy again, particularly when we've seen, the current combinations aren't working. Baumgartel was brought in to try to help bolster this and maybe settle down a little bit. Hasn't happened yet. I think the athleticism, as we've already talked about on this podcast, is a huge issue. Cisse is somebody that can potentially paper over a little bit of that. It's probably maybe a better partner in terms of balancing that deficit out compared to like a Baumgartel with a Kaminski. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think you keep looking for answers. I think you rotate people in every once in a while and see what gels. I mean, if you want to put in Kalash or something like that as well, I mean, go for it. I mean, that person has experience too, to some extent. So, yeah, I'm definitely open to some rotation and trying out some additional combinations. I don't think it has to be this Kaminski Baumgartel answer forever.
But Eric made a great point too. Is that last year with Rice, we saw a definitive idea of what the team wanted to do defensively. They were one of the best defensive teams last year in the second half of the season, which I think was the 8th best record in the second half of the season, which they nearly survived relegation. But this year it just for not. And usually it's like when you're in the lower division, you usually have the compactness, the idea set, and then when you move up a league, that's when things kind of unravel because you don't know how to play, whether it's attack or defensive minded. It's the opposite for Schalke. We got relegated, and it seems like we lost our ideas defensively. Jack, what are your thoughts on what's going on here with the lack of identity with this team, especially defensively, dropping down the league versus what we did last year.
I mean, I wonder how much of it is that the focus when Rice came in last year was trying to stop a runaway train essentially, and we had to shore things up on the defensive end to give ourselves any kind of platform and any chance to fight back. And we had that whole streak of unbeaten games and everything. I think that was the focus early on. And we had, I think, still enough offensive talent to kind of fill in the gaps if there wasn't a clear identity as much in terms of like Salazar and players still being around. I think second division, once again, losing some quality in terms of the players at our disposal. You have Poulter, you have Tirada. They can't get enough service. We're missing Bolter on the left-hand side. He's huge for so much of what we did last year. Yeah. In the last couple seasons, really. We haven't found a reliable replacement yet on the wings. Like Kazuki hasn't panned out as promised. I think some of it's just personnel issues, to be honest. I mean, like, I'm not trying to take Rice off the hook, but I just mean, like, I'm less of the mind that we had like a definitive offensive identity last season necessarily anyway that was particularly like strong or worth investing in. I just think, we were kind of doing what we needed to do to survive. And then we've struggled to find solutions early on with the new kind of change in squad and personnel and everything. So I don't know. I don't know what's on the book in terms of potentially trying to make additional like loan signings or player signings in the winter. But Rice has to figure something out soon. I mean, like in players like Lasme, right? Like got brought in injured right away. So like some of it is like maybe things would be looking better if we had some additional people at our disposal that were part of the plan to begin with. But yeah, I don't know. Remains to be seen from my perspective.
Yeah, it can't just be Thomas Aouyan set pieces and
yeah,
right.
Exactly. Eric, what are your thoughts on obviously the Knappen has had some, especially right now, the talent is there, about giving some of these guys an opportunity in the league. Obviously Kiki Top is a player. I thought it played fairly well the last game when he got some good minutes there. But there's some other youngsters that can get in the mix. Obviously Raul is having a good season so far. Do you want to see some more insertion of the Knappen, or you think we're just we got to figure it out with this the team we have right now and get some kind of identity? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think that's kind of what I was thinking, though, because you're not going to have enough money to buy it together.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to have enough money to buy the players that you actually are going to need. If you can find 4, 5, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are good enough to be, because their intent was to be in a Bundesliga squad, so they should, at this age, slowly but surely be already in a second Bundesliga squad quality. And I'm not thinking of any specific player.
Right.
But it seems like we had, a lot of talent, like Merkant and Bujalab and Idrizi, and all the names that came through that we would see on the bench for like 3 years that never panned out.
Bozdogan, yeah.
Everyone we ever hyped up never panned out.
Right, exactly. So, unfortunately, that's the case, and I think, what do you do? I think you just don't have enough money to buy it together, and that's the hope. But I don't see it right now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys. Some of the news that came out after the game: Marius Muller suffered a tendon rupture in the abductor area. The keeper's going to have surgery on Tuesday with tomorrow, and it should be out for several months. That is going to be a blow. Obviously, hopefully Fairman gets back soon. Looking at Tarota and Karaman are back in training, so that's good to see. Both those guys had slight injuries that they picked up. Lasme as well, he's back in training, which will be good to have him back. We need to have some of these depth players back going forward. Fairman trained individually today. He's been suffering from an Achilles tendon problem. He'll try to train with the team tomorrow, but and just if he's not, they may look at they will not be looking at another goalkeeper here. So it looks like they're going to say keep Michel Langer starting, maybe Justin Hickerin if they need be, but they're going to wait till Fairman gets healthy and then maybe insert him into the lineup there. If you ever want to throw out a psyche of your team, I think Schalke did it today. Apparently they had training today, some shooting drills, 7 minutes worth of shooting drills, 40 attempts, only 4 goals. So if you want to psych out your opponents, I think Schalke are doing it very well there. And then last bit of news I got, I would say Poulter made it into the kickers top 11 this week with his performance, 2 goals, obviously. Not sure how Odrago didn't make it, but obviously guessing he didn't get the assist there. But any final thoughts here on this after this game against Magdeburg? Looking ahead to St. Pauli. Eric, I'll go with you first.
No, I think we said it. This one was just going to be an open game. This next one is going to be a tight one.
Yeah. Jack.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm lagging horribly right now, by the way. So sorry if my internet connection is poor here. But no, just partially what you were saying a second ago. I'm particularly anxious to get Lasby back because I forget which match it was specifically, but when he scored the goal at the end of the game. That was one of the performances where you're looking at him and you're like, that's a guy who literally jumps off the screen in terms of some of the physical tools and other things that make him seem like he is more competitive than this level. I'm not saying like his entire game is more competitive in the second division. I'm just saying like when you look at a player like that was somebody that's like he can get a yard of space whenever he needs to. He can power by some people. He can open some things up for us. So I don't know. Hopefully he can get healthy for us soon and get back into the starting lineup or at least. Coming on the bench with some fresh legs late in games. I think he was starting to look a little bit promising, and we need all the help we can get.
I mean, hey, and if Poulter can, if he continues to get some more minutes and takes advantage of it, get some more goals, maybe he starts to start up here a little bit. Kabadai is coming on in some minutes, and he's doing well.
He had a nice long range effort at one point. As did Dryogo. I thought that was very fitting that Poulter has a brace in this game. And that one performance, he's immediately tied for the most goals for Schalke this season, which is not maybe the greatest sign that you can do. I mean, 6 games in only. That being said, but still, I was like, that's not ideal. So
no, not ideal at all. But it is what it is, right? That's about the game. Let's get into a little bit about Schalke and fandom, Eric. Jack and I, we obviously know each other, and Eric, you and I, we've been chatting for a long time, but. For those who don't know you and how you became a Schalke fan and all that stuff, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became a avid blues fan. Blues fan.
Also, my uncle is a fan. So I am. I'm personally not, but my mom is from a town just south of the ugly city. So, but only 30 minutes away is Schalke. So, growing up, my uncle was a big fan. My cousin's a big fan. Probably my first memory related to Schalke was obviously Saturdays. It's the big games. It's obviously in the afternoons, and then evening we had a family function. And my uncle says to me, he says in German, he's like, "Geh mal gucken, ob die schwarze Fahne schon vor der Tür ist." And I was like, "Look," it translates to, "Go see if there's a black flag in front of the house," because we always put a black flag in front of the house if Schalke loses at 5:30, which would be. So it's like, I opened the door. I was like probably 5 or 6 years old, and my aunt's like, "What are you doing?" Because she's also thinking like a little kid's walking in the street now, right? And I was like, "I'm looking for the black flag." And she's like, "Oh, what'd your uncle do to you?" So that's probably my first memory. And so I moved to the States when I was a kid. I grew up in Frankfurt, and obviously at that time we still didn't have, internet wasn't a thing yet, and my great aunt would actually cut out the back end of the newspapers or like a Sportbild and something, send me the results, and then she'd put them all in an envelope and send them the results, because otherwise you get some, you talk on the phone maybe once every 2 weeks or so, but that's how you kind of follow it, right? Yeah. And then obviously, internet and everything, then it became easier again. But I've been a fan for a while now. I'm a lot older than
I love that, just especially because my story is so awful and boring in comparison. And it's just FIFA, I don't know, and that's a way cooler. So I have some family history in Germany, but I have no ties to Schalke or anything specifically. So no, that's a very cool story.
My cousin sits. He's got season tickets. He sits on the North Kurve, just as the turn. So probably about. Even with the penalty spot on, I guess on the west side is where he sits.
Okay.
So, he's 6'8", so every now and again you'll see him.
He could play keeper for us.
No, it's just you have nice memories. I mean, I've been to the stadium twice. Once with the game, once without. I've been to the old stadium. I've met the team randomly at the Dusseldorf airport.
Mm.
They're going to training, and I was flying home back to the States.
Who was on the squad back then?
God, this would have been 2017. So we
Okay.
Okay.
So it wasn't. So 16. Sorry, it's 2016. So it was it's reasonably recent. The game that I went and saw, Raul was warming up in front of me.
Nice.
That was Manuel Neuer's last home game.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And before the game, Bourdon had actually announced his retirement. So there was and he was injured, or I don't remember if he was injured or suspended. Both are plausible.
Yeah.
Both are plausible, but they had a big celebration for him, kind of in front of the head of the game. So no, that's always nice memories. Always like Schalke. There was a time I was flying back from Germany, and the guy was wearing a Schalke hat, and I said, "Oh, Glück auf." And dude sits down next to me, and he says to me, "Oh, I actually do work for Schalke." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So he was bringing a kid over to play some video game in a competition here in Atlanta, and he was a good dude. And I told him, I was like, "Oh, we come and watch soccer, and here's my address, and this is where we watch soccer on Saturday mornings." He's like, "Yeah, if he does well, we won't be able to come, but if he's not, then if he's already out of the," and don't ask me what game it was that he was ranked in, but the Schalke's got apparently a very impressive esports program as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, here's all the spots that you want to hit up in Atlanta, food joints and clubs and stuff like that." And the response was, "Yeah, he's not 21." I was like, "Oh." That's why I have to go with him, because he's not.
Right. We sold the League of Legends team, didn't we?
Yeah, but the team came back, I think. So yeah, they had gotten rid of it, but then they kind of rebuilt the team, I think, again or something. Because I've seen tweets about them, doing whatever tournaments, but maybe not League of Legends, I guess. So I don't know. But yeah, your story is so fascinating. It's always here to hear these kind of stories, because Jack and our stories are a little bit more bland, comparatively, right? I started following the team in 2005, 2006, which seems like just yesterday for us or for me, but that's almost 20 years now that I've been supporting Schalke. And then Jack, you've been since what year was that for you? Like
couple years after you, but yeah. Limited at first, obviously, without Fox getting the Bundesliga rights in the States initially and that kind of stuff.
Gold TV for me, and so I still feel like a brand new Schalke fan, but it's been a while. It's been a while to support team. Obviously not as long as you, Eric, and many others that listen to our show. So it's always great to hear these stories, because everyone's got a story just like you.
It's always interesting, because I always ask that question: how does an American become a fan of any German team, right? And is it an American player? Is it
Gold TV?
Gold TV? What is it, right?
Right.
And especially when you meet some of the older guys, they're like, "Oh yeah, that was the closest team to where my military base was." Or, so I've met a lot of Kaiserslautern fans that are in their 60s, right? Or Frankfurt fans, or even Darmstadt now that they're back. So we're all it was always interesting to hear that, and they followed the team over the years. And I always explained to them, like, "Oh yeah, look at all the Americans that have played there," and it's like Tom Dooley, and they're like, "Who's Tom?"
Yeah.
Who's Tom Dooley? But
Jack might not know Tom Dooley, but I certainly do.
Right. Weston McKennie and Jermaine Jones, obviously.
Weston McKennie putting in master classes for Juve right now. Put some respect on his name. The guy's amorphous. If he's playing with a good team, he looks decent. If he plays with a horrible team, he looks terrible. But anyway,
yeah. So, my claim to fame with Weston McKennie is that his mom, when U.S. men's national team was playing in D.C., I think it was against Cuba, Weston flew Schalke flew Weston McKennie's team, a whole family to the game, and so I was at a bar with Schalke, and so I got to meet his whole family and everything like that, and his mom was absolutely loving my son, and my son was having a ball there, so it was really nice to meet the whole family. So it was really, really cool there. And then obviously he goes into a hat trick in that game, and then I think that was after that he went over to Juventus. So fond memories of him. Matt says Dooley played for Schalke right before joining MLS. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He did. So you're in Atlanta, right? For those who don't know you.
Yeah. And it's It's fun here. It's finally gotten a little bit cooler. It was swelteringly hot here recently.
Yeah, here
To
too.
be expected, it was really, really hot. So I'm kind of glad that I saw for the first time a high today that didn't peak 85.
Nice.
Talk to me real quick about Atlanta soccer culture and what you've seen in terms of like changes to that over the past, well, I don't know, decade maybe, but maybe like 5-6 years, especially with Atlanta United and their prominence and everything, and now would be something like the U.S. not men's national team, U.S. soccer in general, making the investment down there.
Well, I mean, there's always been a good youth soccer culture around Atlanta, so that's always existed.
Right on.
A couple of my teammates I used to play with, I wouldn't say they were miles better than me. Became American national team players. The guy that's the technical director now at Atlanta United used to be a teammate of mine. So there was always that there. But Atlanta is kind of a weird city because the majority of the people that are here, I would say, have been here less than 20 years. Right. So there's a lot of people that have moved here, and you ask them, okay, what football teams? Well, Buffalo, because my dad's from Buffalo. When I moved here, I was Buffalo. So, but I think with Atlanta United, I think because it's new, right? I think everybody kind of feels part of it. So I think it really does. If you are an Atlanta soccer fan, I think you do feel as though Atlanta United represents you. Whereas if you're a football fan, the Falcons may not, because you came here 20 years ago and were already a Packers fan or a Rams fan or whatever it may be. The culture is great. I think, we have one of the highest turnouts. I want to say it's like between 48 and 50,000.
Unreal.
It's amazing. I mean, it's completely different. There's always a good music scene that goes with it, outside the stadium, inside the stadium. Like I went 2-3 weeks ago, I went and saw United win 4-0. That was a good game against Nashville, I think they played. And
then like some of that capacity, I mean, that's partially like relative capacity of the stadium in terms of the attendance, but that's still good numbers regardless. I mean, even though you have, if you're talking like over 50,000, now you're approaching like.
I go to DC United games as a season holder
and stuff like that. So that's
DC United gets like 15 to 18,000 a game. I've never seen a sell. They claim sellouts, but they don't have sellouts. Like 50,000. I don't even know what that would look like for a soccer game here in the States. So that's amazing to hear.
Right. I mean, like there's always something, like there's always some event that kind of they link it to. Like I said, 3 weeks ago, I was there at halftime. They had Goody Mob came out. And nice. CeeLo still looking good, and they did the halftime show. It was almost like a halftime show. I mean, random, but it was just very Atlanta, right?
Nice.
And they kind of do. There's a Sunday special sometimes where you have the afternoon MLS game. Game ends around 6 o'clock, so it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock kickoff, 6 o'clock, and then you walk over to the other stadium and watch the Hawks that have a tip off.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So. I know we don't have the best sports culture here, reputation. I mean, we're Braves, obviously, with a good history, but Falcons, one of the few teams that have not won the Super Bowl. So, and kind of the change of the people moving here, I think Atlanta United's done a good job reaching out to all the communities and well represented. I think you see it in the stadium.
Yeah, I think the movement in some of these cities, Atlanta, St. Louis, obviously some of the West Coast teams, it's just really building that culture. Cincinnati's another one where just like the culture's just thriving. It wants to. It seems like U.S. soccer in general wants to explode, and then so many of those fans come from other places and they support other teams. And now you see a lot of Bundesliga club following, and so you see all kinds of, I see Bundesliga teams, but also some Zweite Liga followers and teams even like the Kaiserslauterns and some of these other teams that support that. I saw a map that one of our friends and one of the other podcasts for German football, they put out a map of like where all the support is around the U.S. and it's just amazing to see that. You wouldn't even think in almost every state there's some kind of support for some kind of a Bundesliga club, which is really good to see. And there's fan clubs popping up all over the U.S. Right? Schalke certainly has them. Our cousin city, which I will not mention, they have several as well. Obviously Bayern and so on and so forth. So the culture is really starting to thrive. It does help with having military people who lived overseas and got to see some of that over there, and foreigners coming over here, expats coming over here. So yeah, soccer seemed to be really thriving, and no better example is it than Atlanta, right? 50,000 a game for fans. That's amazing to see. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Not a fan.
What's that?
Still have not met a Hoffenheim fan. I don't know why.
I have not either. And
Yeah,
I don't. I'm sure there
the
are
one?
somewhere out there.
Gotta be somewhere. Right? So
I'm not in a hurry to meet them, but if I meet them, great. Anything else tonight? You guys anything you want to chat about, Eric, before we get out of here?
no, this was great fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, over the years we've had so many guests. Whether it's Schalke helping us with Nick Tatsugui, or we had obviously Phil Bonney and obviously Derek Rayon and other guests. It's always good to have anybody come on and talk Schalke or just Bundesliga in general. Yeah, like Jack said, it's been a while since we've had someone on here, so it's nice to spice it up just a little bit and see how things are going, right, Jack?
Those two go on the Mount Rushmore of Bundesliga announcers for sure.
Absolutely. As
I've always said, dude, Derek Ray's such a good guy.
Yes.
Just a genuinely good dude. But no, seriously, yeah. Thank you, Eric, for joining us. Let's do it again sometime, for sure. And yeah, thanks for being with us on the 200th episode and on a Victory Monday, no less. Positive start out of the international break here. Let's keep it going against St. Pauli, and hopefully it's not a snooze fest.
Yeah, and for all those on our Discord who wanted to join us tonight and couldn't make it, let's chat. Maybe get a little video clip or something. We can put a little montage together for our next episode because I know a lot of people wanted to jump on. But thanks to have Eric again. Eric, we've talked for a long time, so it's good to see your face and talk a little Schalke here on the podcast. So, tell our listeners where they can follow you on social media.
I'm Eric the German.
This is how I know him.
Where all fine books are sold.
There you go.
Right. Jack, anything to plug, or if not, where can people
no, just a quick shout out for my my spicy boy Carlos Sainz picking up that dub at the Singapore Grand Prix this past weekend.
Ferrari,
back-to-back poles for him and gets his second win. And then a little Carlando action at the end of the race. So just enjoy that. Anyway, you can find me at JM Mangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter.
We're always going to find a way to plug F1 into this podcast. Right? You have to. You can follow me at R_KHARME. And more importantly, follow Schalke America anywhere on social media. If you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe, like the videos, leave comments. It would help us a lot. And then if you're not in the Discord, get on the Discord. Good chat about Schalke and just chat shit all the time about random shit too. So, but definitely join it. Good people there, and we'll have to have more with the Discord people here in the near future. So keep an ear out for that. But 200 episodes come and gone. Let's go to another 100, another 200 or whatever. We'll see how long Schalke stays around. For Jack, for Eric, the German, and for myself, we'll catch you soon. Glück auf.